Welcome back to the Helioscope YouTube channel. In today's video, Steve Lieber is going to show us how to start and run a comic book studio. How did this comic book studio start for you, Steve?
Started almost 21 years ago. A whole bunch of us were getting together once a week at a coffee shop not too far from downtown Portland. And we'd bring what we were working on, we'd trade gossip, we'd talk about making comics, talk about life outside of comics, just getting out of our studios and offices and spending some time around each other. And what we realized is that for those few hours we were getting together, we were really productive. We were getting a lot done. And we decided, why not do this permanently? Why not see about renting a space?
Where do you suggest starting if you want to start a comic book studio?
It's a good question. I think the best thing is a weekly meetup, a drink and draw, meet at a coffee shop, meet at a workroom at the library, something like that. You just want to get a feel for who you like being around, who makes you more productive, who makes you better at what you do, who do you riff well with. If you're going to spend 8-10 hours a day under pressure with people, you want to make sure that you get along with them. So yeah, have a test drive first, and a drink and draw or a coffee meetup is perfect for that.
So once you figure out who you want to start your studio with, what's next?
Set up a meeting at somebody's house, figure out how much money everybody wants to put in, what's their upper limit, how long they can commit for. Put some numbers down on a piece of paper and start figuring things out. Once you figure out what your budget is, then you can go out into your city, check Craigslist, check commercial real estate listings, and start hunting for a place. If you're in a city, all you have to do is walk around and you're going to see real estate signs saying office space for let. You don't want a retail space. You want to be up off the ground floor where there's no walk-in traffic. It's a lot cheaper, and you don't want walk-in traffic. You're a workspace, not a store. Once you find a space, you get everybody to dig into their pocket and pull out a couple months' rent and put it into the general pool. You'll want to have some meetings to decide important things like what are the goals for the space, what are the rules for the space. One of the biggest mistakes that we made early on was we didn't set up any rules for how we make rules. It took a while to figure out, how do we vote somebody in, how do we vote somebody out. The sooner you solve problems like that, the better. We do all of our voting anonymously through, I think, SurveyMonkey. To bring in a new member, anybody can propose a new member. We put them up for a trial vote first, and it takes 2/3 of all votes cast to bring somebody in as a trial member. If they pass through the trial and they want to join and we feel like it's a good fit, then we vote again, and it requires a 3/4 vote to make somebody a permanent member.
To get rid of a member, how does that work?
Well, we've never had to do it, but if we do, I believe it's 3/4 of the membership, or of the voting membership, has to say this person is out of here. But again, it's never happened.
That's so lucky.
Yeah, well, we've done really well. We've had a lot of luck in picking people that we want to work around and that we feel good being in a room with 8 hours a day.
How do we start even figuring out if we like working with people?
New members typically have come from two places. One, working cartoonists who are already in the area who we invite to come by and just work in the space for a bit. And the others most have been from our mentorship program. We ran a mentorship program for, I would say, like 15 of our 21 years. It's on hiatus right now. With COVID, we decided that we weren't going to ask people to fly across the country and live in Portland for 4 months when the studio was a lot quieter than it used to be. We still hope to bring it back someday. It was a really big part of the studio's identity, and I think part of our mission as well.
All right, Steve, let's start talking about the finances. How does that work here?
Well, there were 11 of us at the beginning. We each put in 2 months' rent, as I think I mentioned. We set the numbers up so that what we were collecting every month would be about 20% higher than our rent and utilities. The idea is we want to build up a cushion over time and make sure that there's money for supplies or in case something happens. If somebody has to drop out, it's not a calamity. As a financial entity, we started with no structure at all. We just had a shoebox, and the treasurer would collect rent and put it in there, and then at the end of the month, put it into his own account and write a check to the landlord. Things needed to be a little bit more organized than that, so I got us a bank account, and that means that the numbers are all on my Social Security now. But it also means that we can do things like have a PayPal account, set up an Etsy store. We became an LLC when we decided that we wanted to run a Kickstarter back in 2012 or 2013. Little by little, we became more of a legitimate organization. But as far as the law is concerned, our financial structure is Helioscope is an office space that Steve Lieber rents and then sublets to a bunch of other cartoonists.
How does shared equipment work at the studio, and how do you get people to kick in money for that kind of stuff?
Well, initially, all of our shared equipment was just cast-offs. Someone would get a new printer, but his old printer still worked, so he'd bring it in and the room would have a printer. Ditto for a monitor or a computer or things like that. What happened over time is that, well, people were initially not that into contributing money for a collectively owned piece of equipment. Eventually folks started to realize that if my studio mate's career is going better, my career is going better because everybody helps everybody else level up.
How do tasks at the studio get split up?
Almost entirely on a volunteer basis. Basically, people get tired of some resource or some task not being done and they do it themselves. For years we had no website. And someone made one. It wasn't that great. Somebody else made a better one. That still wasn't working. Ron Chan went and built us a terrific Squarespace site. Somebody thought that we could have an Etsy store and people could contribute sketches, sketch cards, doodles, sign books, whatever. Someone offered to set that up and do the shipping. It's one little thing at a time, but with a lot of people associated with the group, and a lot of possibilities, things actually do happen. It happens at its own schedule, but we've accomplished quite a bit over time. One of the tasks that was entirely volunteer driven was running the mentorship program. People had really strong ideas about what we could accomplish as mentors and what needed to be done, and they jumped in and did it. Terry Nelson ran for years, and then Lucy Bellwood. As I mentioned earlier, the mentorship program is on hiatus right now. We all love it, but there's just not enough reliable attendance in the room to make it fair for anybody to come in on a regular basis and sit in a room by themselves or with two other cartoonists with headphones on and not actually get the mentorship that they deserve. As life gets back to normal, I really hope that we're able to bring it back, but it's just not a live option right now.
What are the different levels of memberships here?
We basically have two levels. They don't really have a formal name, but we usually refer to them as full members and floats. A float pays a smaller amount just for access to the room. They get keys, there's some shelves where they can store stuff, they can leave their food in the fridge. A full member pays more and actually has a desk that's all their own. They can leave their computer set up, they can set up bookshelves or pictures on the wall behind them. And members are free to move up and down between levels. If things are going really busy and you need a complete setup and to be able to just come in and have your stuff waiting for you, go with the full membership. If the career is quieter or you're home taking care of a new baby most of the time or whatever like that, you go back down to a float. People move up and down between levels all the time.
What is the hardest part of forming a studio?
Money. Money is always going to be the trickiest part, especially in the beginning when you don't have that cushion set up. You want to, at the very least, set things up so that if somebody leaves, it doesn't leave everybody else in the lurch. You want enough people contributing so that the balance isn't upset that quickly. And at the very least, you want to make sure it's possible to dissolve the collective without bankrupting the person whose name is on the lease. The studio's mission statement is simple: help the studio members be happy and productive in their work as cartoonists. And I try to make all of my decisions as the manager of the place with that mission in mind.
Steve, are we currently looking for any new members at this time?
We're not. Our desks are all filled right now. The open spaces are all taken up. When we do decide to look for new members, we conduct the search ourselves. We know who's making comics in the area, and we reach out to them ourselves.
Thank you so much for watching our video. We hope you found it useful, and we will see you here next time.